Hello everyone, welcome to another session of political science class with me for class 12. Okay, in this session we'll still continue with this chapter 10, okay, US dominance in world politics continuation. We'll discuss on the last two topics. That is the first one, US dominance in three areas, okay, first one in the military, second economy, and third in the cultural sphere. Okay, the first one, US hegemony as hard power. Hard power in the form of military. Okay, now what do you mean by hegemony? Okay, what is the meaning of hegemony? Hegemony means the domination of one country over other states. All right, hegemony means the domination of one country over other states. Now militarily, okay, from the military point of view, US is the only country which have a world presence, especially in the military sphere. Okay, for example, in your text, it has given that USA, she has over more than 700 military installations outside her territory. That means she has more than 700 military base outside US territory. Some of these military installations has been developed into a pure military base. For example, in 2011, all right, in 2011, it says that a US special force, all right, they flew in a helicopter from Afghanistan to Abbottabad. Now, Abbottabad is in Pakistan, okay. In this operation, they were able to raid and kill the Al-Qaeda chief, that is Osama bin Laden. It is said that in this military operation, the Pakistan Air Force radar system, all right, the radar system here is which controls or detects the air traffic. It seems that the Pakistan's radar system, they were not able to detect this military operation, which was on a 40-minute operation that killed the Al-Qaeda leader, that is Osama bin Laden. Okay, this is one of the examples that the text has given. There's also a film based on this operation. It is known as Zero Dark 30, right? When you watch this film, you will get to know that the US military operation, especially in this operation, they were up to date, okay? They were using the latest or the most sophisticated military weapons. This shows that the US military presence or the military base outside her territory, it has boosted her military strength. Okay, now point number 2, it is the US defense spending. When it comes to US defense, her budget, it seems that it accounts to around 36% of the whole world combined together. Then what about her defense production? It is accumulated that over 40% of the defense production is being manufactured or is being produced by the United States of America. So this shows that even in the US defense spending, US is far more ahead than most of the countries in this world. All right. Now point number 3, military operation is undertaken for a wide range of tasks. This is your point number 3. Okay, why does a military intervention happens, or why does a civil war happens between two countries? This is first is to emerge victory. Yeah, in every warring countries there is always a victory country. Yes or no? Now point number 2, it is to punish the perpetrator or punish the opponent. And point number 3, it is to establish or maintain law and order in that country. All right. So as far as US supremacy or as far as US captaincy is concerned, she is able to dominate in the first, that is to punish or to punish the perpetrators, all right, and also she emerged victorious. So in these two areas or in these 2 points, US captaincy is undisputed. Okay, but when we come to point number 3, that is maintaining law and order, US is not able to do so. Okay, now these are the points which shows that militarily US has the presence, okay? US has the military might and capability in these 3 areas. Okay, point number 2, we'll go to US hegemony as a structural power. In the structural power, we'll talk about her economic, okay? Her economic strength in the global or in the international politics. Now, even in the economic sphere, United States, she has the status of the major global power. Now, with her geographical expanse, all right, and her mineral wealth, as well as her industries, it has boosted her economy. Some of the points that your text has mentioned is point number 1. It says that USA role in providing global public goods. Now, when we hear this word global public good, it is something to do with public goods, which is meant for everyone and for every country. Now, in this, the sea lines of communication, okay, sea lines of communication, SLOS in short, this is a very good example for providing global public goods. Now, it is this sea lines of communication which controls sea routes, okay, for trading. This is carried out by merchant navy of their respective countries. Why is this sea lanes of communication very important in trade? Because trade by sea is much cheaper than trade by land or air. Yeah. So as in your text, it has mentioned that after the Second World War, US had emerged, or US had emerged as a victorious country in maintaining this naval power after the decline of British. Okay. Point number 2. It talks about America's share in the world trade. Now, the United States alone, it accounts for 15.5% of the world trade globally. Okay. Now, most of the companies are also owned and controlled by the Americans. For example, company that is Amazon. All right. Point number 3, it is IMF, World Bank, and World Trade Organization. IMF, it stands for International Monetary Fund, and World Bank. Let me give you the historical background for these two organizations. Now, IMF and World Bank, it is in 1944, okay, 1944, 44 countries, they met at Bretton Woods, okay, Bretton Woods in New Hampshire in USA. In this Bretton Woods conference, these 44 countries, they decided to come up with an organization called the IMF and the World Bank after the Second World War. All right. Now, after the end of the Second World War, these two economic organizations, that is the IMF and the World Bank, they emerge. Okay. Now, in this organization, the currency, that is the US dollar, it plays a dominant role. Okay. Whenever a country wants to take loan from this organization, it has to be done through dollar. Okay. The currency is to be dollar. Now, what about the World Trade Organization? This is the sole organization which controls or which manage trade relations between the member states. Okay. Now, IMF, World Bank, and World Trade Organization, these three bodies, okay, they are the basic structure and functioning of the world economy. Okay. Now, an important key here is the US dominance in these three organizations, that is the IMF as well as the World Bank. Now, point number 4, it talks about Windows software. It says that no person other than Bill Gates and his nominee can manufacture as well as sell, okay, both manufacture and sell Windows software produced by the Microsoft company. So, in this Microsoft company, we see that the US has a sole dominance or total control over this. Now, point number 5, it talks about internet technique. Now, internet, the presence of internet, it has revolutionized everything. Yeah, be it in economy, it has also revolutionized the international politics in the global arena. When we talk about this present functioning of the political system, we see that it has influenced bilateral as well as multilateral talks, even in security as well as in entertainment. Internet has played a significant role, as well as in education also in present day. Okay, so in these all areas, internet technique has played a dominant role. Now, the last point is business administration. It is saying that the first business school, okay, the first business school, it was established in United States of America in 1881. That is the Pennsylvania University. And after this establishment, there were a whole lot of business industries as well as business institute that emerge. Now, degrees obtained from this institute, they are held with high esteems. Therefore, countries or like people, citizens from Asia, Africa, and even European continents, they started to get through into this institute to have a knowledge or to have the business technique from the American university. Why? To learn the way to learn the American way of doing businesses. Okay, so these are the 6 points which shows that US has a dominance even in the economic sphere. Okay, now the last point, that is US hegemony in soft power, that is mainly to do with the cultural perspective. Now what is soft power? Okay, when we talk about soft power, you cannot measure it, okay? Neither you can pinpoint it, but you can exert it. That means you can have an influence upon it, okay? Now this soft power, this word has been coined by an American scientist called Joseph Nye. Okay, you'll be learning more about him in your higher studies. Now what is meant by soft power? Soft power, it is a concept mastered by Americans, okay? What is this all about? It is the ability to get what you want, okay? To get what you want through attractions rather than coercion, or we can say rather than by force, okay? That means you are able to dominate people or to have an influence upon other people through attractions. Now what does American want? American want to project to the world that US is the most desirable country. For example, in your text it has given the food culture. When we talk about food culture, the presence of fast food, yeah? The presence of the fast food, for example, in your text, it has given McDonald's and a KFC. Now, when we talk about clothing, the jean culture, it is the first preference for most of the youngsters, yeah? The presence of the shopping malls. These all shows that US has influenced the globe as a whole, because we see these shopping malls or the culture of fast food even in our country, yeah? So this shows that US has able to influence her culture even to the countries like us, like the developing country. So even in the cultural sphere, okay, apart from this way of life and clothing, it also talks about ideology. For example, liberalism, a democratic form of government, and economic freedom. Even in this ideology, US has been able to influence other countries. Okay, so this is all about the US dimension or US influence or the dominance in these 3 areas. The first is military, second is economic, and third is the cultural sphere. Okay, now this second topic, that is challenges. What are the challenges that US face? Now the challenges that US face is into two. Okay, the first is Americans' economy. The second is US ideology and culture. Now the first will come to restraint on American economy. Okay, now no doubt US is okay. No doubt US has the status of a global economic power, but we should not forget that China and European Union, okay, these two has emerged as the largest growing economy. For example, China. Okay, now China today, it has emerged as one of the global power and which cannot be denied. When it comes to aerospace and armament industries, US has faced a stiff competition in these two. Okay, so even in economy, US has a challenge from countries like China and European Union. Now point number 2, that is restraint on US ideology and culture. We do admit that the fever for the like for having a communist form of government, it has declined. Now most of the countries, they want to have a liberal democratic institution where people or the citizen has a voice in the decision making or has a voice in the governance policies and law making. Okay, now we should keep in mind that US does not have a monopoly in this ideology, because countries wanting to have a democratic form of government or democratic institution, this is a universal phenomenon. Okay, it is a natural instinct of most of the countries. Now when we talk about culture, as far as culture is concerned, culture is never one-sided. Okay, please remember, culture is never one-sided. With globalization, okay, with globalization, it has led or it has resulted in cultural pluralism. Okay, no doubt genes has a cultural impact on most of the countries, but we should not forget about Indian culture also. Okay, for example, the presence of kurtas and khadis is not only we can see in India, but we also see this presence in the US as well as the Western countries. Yeah. Then when we talk about food habits, Indian spices and the Chinese noodles. Okay, these also has an impact in the US, okay, and even other Western countries. So in this area, okay, in culture, that is in food as well as in the way of life, the clothing culture, US has a stiff competition. Now, we should always remember that the fear of this culture, okay, to be entirely wiped out, it is unreal. Because the answer is simple, culture is never one-sided. Okay, so these are the 2 points where US face a challenge. Okay, the first is economic and the second is in the ideology and the cultural sphere. Okay, so now the last topic, India's relations with the US. Now, what is India's relations with the US? In the beginning, okay, when the Cold War was going on, India did not join any of the power blocs. Yeah, neither she joined the US nor the Soviet Union. She maintained neutral. Okay, after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, okay, that happened in 1991, India still had maintained a favorable relations with the US and the USSR. Okay, in the 1990s, India felt necessary to upgrade her economy. This made her to introduce this FDI, that is foreign direct investment. India permitted 100% FDI, whereby it allowed investors from abroad to invest in India. Okay, the restriction, okay, now trade restriction, it was removed so that investors from abroad could come and establish their industries. So as in the other way, it can boost India's economy. The moment India allowed FDI, it boosted the relations between India and the US. Okay, it not only increased the economy, but it also led to an increased interchange of people as well as interchange of science and technology between India and United States. Now, what are the areas of cooperation between the United States and India? The first point, it is said that United States sees India as one of the biggest trade partner. Okay, the first one. The second one, United States, she sees Asia continent, especially India, as one of the market for the future. Okay, now point number 3, it is said that more than 3 lakh Indians, they work in the Silicon Valley, which is in United States of America. Now the 2 countries, point number 4, 2 countries, they work together in cooperation in dealing with issues like education, health, climate change, science and technology, as well as cooperation in energy also. Okay, so in these areas, both countries, they work together hand in hand. Now, point number 5, both countries, they are victims of terrorism. Yeah, so they work together to combat or to end terrorist organizations, especially Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is presently active in Pakistan. Now, point number 6, in 2006, it says that the President and the Prime Minister of India, they signed an agreement dealing for nuclear deal. Later on, this agreement came to be known as Indo-US nuclear deal. Okay. Now the last point, it is a very important point. It is saying that in July 2018, okay, in July 2018, US administration decided to give the status of Stat 1, STA1. Okay, what does this Stat 1 mean? It means the status of strategic trade agreement. Okay, now when a country gets this status, the country is able to acquire the latest US military defense. Okay, now this status is given to countries which US has close relationship. Okay, by giving this status, we can say that India has grown a closer relation with the United States of America. Okay, now what are the types of reactions? Okay, we have seen these points that these are the areas where India has cooperated. Yeah, now what are the reactions? Reactions comes from 3 points. Okay, the first point, it says that the political leaders and the writers, they say that India's growing relations with the US should be limited because India should not support US policy of dominance. This is the first point. Second, they say that since these 2 countries, they have common areas of cooperation, for example, science, technology, trade, climate change, yeah, education, it says that India should make use of this opportunity and to boost the relation even further. Okay, this is the second reaction. Now the third one, the last point, it says that India, being one of the emerging superpower countries, it says that it should provide leadership to the developing countries. That means it should provide a way for the other developing countries to emerge as a global power. So when we see this reaction, in conclusion, we can say that the reaction is a blend of both positive and negative reactions. So with this, we'll end this session, okay? We conclude this session. That is, your last topic was India's relations with the US. And the reaction is both positive and negative, okay?